We are so excited to have you here today. This month, we are celebrating National Mentor Month and why it matters to build. Remember, Build, we are working with students from all across the country for entrepreneurship education. And it's really about making what's in the classroom real. And that is why the mentors and our role models, adult role models, are what really is the change maker in our program. And we are so excited to have two of those role models, coaches, mentors, volunteers today with us. One from Boston, Carlos Oliveira, and Michael Mazzaferro from California. So we are going to get them talking about some of their experiences today and introducing themselves, and really just want to kind of say welcome and thank you so much for coming. First of all, Carlos and Michael.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
It's great being here.
Amazing. Thank you guys both for being here. So to start us off, Carlos, would you mind introducing yourself, a little bit of your background, a little bit of professional and personal, where you're coming from, and how'd you get involved in Build? And then love to hear from Michael after that.
I work with technology. I'm running a startup, basically a startup of technology for lawyers, and I have been working with technology for the last 15 years. Me and my wife, we moved to Boston 6 years ago. And I decided when we came to Boston to get involved with the community, to create new connections. You know, when you move for a new neighborhood, for a new city, you have to create actively connections. So I just Google like some place to volunteer and some groups related to my professional background, and I found Build. And I was very excited to see like Build is teaching entrepreneurship for students in high school, and this is exactly what I want to do. I thought, and I applied for to be a volunteer, and I studied right away, going to a school and connect with the students 6 years ago.
Wow, that is amazing, Carlos. It's 6 years of volunteering with tons of different teams in the classroom, in the pitches. We're so excited to hear all these stories of so many different entrepreneurship businesses. I'm sure that you've helped it come a long way. So thank you so much for joining us from Boston. And Michael, California, thank you so much for coming today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, some of your professional background, and yeah, how did you come into Build?
Sure. It's great to be here. I actually originally hail from Boston, from the North Shore, and I grew up there, went to school there, and in my mid-30s, I said, if I don't move now, I will be in Boston for the rest of my life, which is great, a wonderful place, but I never lived any place other than the city. So I wanted to move somewhere else, and it was really hard for me to leave because when I graduated from college, my brother and I took my father's part-time business, which was candy making, and we turned it into a full-time business. And so by the time I was ready to leave, we had 10 retail candy stores and a manufacturing facility up in Lynn, up in the North Shore. And so I said, I got to move now or never. And I moved to San Francisco. And since then, I've worked primarily in finance and HR, sometimes exclusively in finance and sometimes straddling both areas. And I've worked for both small companies as well as large companies. I've worked for The Gap. I worked for Saatchi, the public relations company. And I worked for a startup, which was fascinating. and eventually that startup did go public a couple of years ago. And most recently, I was working at a food broker, and then decided to retire. So when I was at the food broker, I would get my college alumni newsletter, and that's where I first learned about Build and volunteer opportunities. And so I was a panelist as a judge to give feedback to the pitches from these students. At that time, the schools we were working with were over in Oakland, and so I went and did a couple panels, and I really enjoyed it. And I knew that when I retired, this was something, this organization was something that I wanted to build on that experience. And so when I did finally retire, I volunteered in the classroom as a coach, entrepreneur coach, for 2 different schools over in Oakland. And I continue to do that, continue to work on panels wherever possible in the Bay Area.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael. And it's great. Both of you have experience in kind of startups and entrepreneurship. So I'd love to kind of talk a little bit about that at first. I mean, why do you think volunteering and being a mentor and a role model in kind of a human-centered design entrepreneurship model of education is maybe more exciting or interesting to you, or maybe to others?
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. So for me, so as a person who's retired, it's a little bit different because you do have some time on your hands. So you get to have a variety of activities that you can be involved in. And so I also volunteer in the classroom in San Francisco Unified School District. I'm also a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate with the foster care youth. And the Build experience for me was unique in that I got to apply some of the business learnings that I acquired over the years, and just the experiences, both the failures and the mistakes and the successes, and shared those with high school students. And I love being in high schools. I love being on a campus. It actually keeps me very young and young thinking. I'm aging, but it keeps me young thinking. And it's a great opportunity, I think, to share some experiences and really hope for opportunity for some of these kids who don't always, I think, see beyond their little bubble at this point in life. So I really like that. I like sharing with them my varied experiences, and I learn. I mean, it's just an amazing experience for me by what I learn, not from a business perspective, but from a social perspective. Carlos?
Yeah, I really agree with what you are saying, Michael, because the social perspective of entrepreneurship is essential for the build process, because I think entrepreneurship is related to collaboration, and collaboration is 100% necessary to create something. And when we collaborate with the students, they can learn more about their potential. They can discover new things about themselves, about the life, about their what they want to do in future. And I think entrepreneurship is a powerful tool to go with them, like during the program, during the sessions. So because entrepreneurship is essential to defeat like poverty and like mistakes that life and the society put in our heads, you know. So I see every week students discovering they can do more. They can do like many things they didn't have an idea about it. And this is why I love entrepreneurship, and I love to help kids, help the students to learn more about how to create new things, how to really build things, really sell things, and this process is amazing.
I agree
Yeah,
completely.
and
Yeah.
if
And
I
like,
can build on what Carlos said, because
yeah.
it's a really great point, is that, you know, when at least myself, when I was younger in particular, would think of entrepreneurship, you think of it as you have to be like really qualified or really, you know, there's a lot of risk and you've got a lot of just barriers, and there's so much involved in entrepreneurship and running your own business. And on the other hand, the beauty of entrepreneurship is that anybody can do it, and that there, in many respects, the barriers to entry are lower than traditional career paths, because many of the people that I work with, certainly in Oakland, either for financial reasons or whatever, they a 4-year college education is not in their future, and they're going to have to look for an alternative path. And entrepreneurship is one of those things that, you know, resources aside, the only thing holding them back is themselves. And so I think as a coach, you try and open up that opportunity wider than it always is, and remove that stigma of how challenging it is to be an entrepreneur, which it is. None of us dispute that, but it is also just an amazing opportunity as well.
I agree. And I think coming from, you know, both of you working at startups and kind of being entrepreneurs yourself, it's what the advice that you're giving, and, you know, not just painting a rosy picture. It, just like you said, Michael, it is hard to be an entrepreneur, but saying that like you're falling forward and these failures are making everything better, that's the kind of advice that you're giving these students in the classroom. And just like from my own personal experience, I also had a kind of company, a project that I did through Columbia University, and it was a video storytelling entrepreneurship. And I mean, just going through that and understanding the hardships of being kind of your own CEO and what you need to do to collaborate with your team to make your own you know, decisions and team and business is it was very challenging. So just love the experience, and I love sharing with the students those failures and those successes, so they kind of see real life situations. And I think that's some of the things that the students are gaining from all of you every day. And so I wanted to take a step back also and just kind of paint a picture for our audience of like, what does a day in the life of you know, a business team coach or a volunteer for Build look like? And maybe also saying maybe one of your favorite days, because I know there's so many different types of different days, whether it's at like a pitch event or in the classroom. But just kind of diving into some of your everyday experiences and also maybe that one memorable time.
In the program, we have many steps to follow. Like think about some business idea and design the marketing campaign and all these things. 1 or 2 weeks, we have a time to assemble the product, like hands-on. And I love this part of the program because it makes all the things. So this part of the program, the session, this kind of session, like building things, assembling products, getting all together and formatting, like having a real product in their hands, for me is amazing. So I really like this kind of session.
Yeah, my experience, I've had varied experiences in the classroom, different time periods, different sort of configurations. But typically, it's we're volunteering and trying to coach kids in really expressing themselves and creating ideas and expressing themselves. Whether it's a personal pitch early on in the program where they're just really talking about themselves, to later development of a business proposal and pitching that proposal and trying to get funding, and how you prepare for that, and the potential pitfalls that you might encounter along the way. I think what's most notable, whether it's the personal pitch or the business pitch, whether it's a freshman or a junior, you see the progression from September to December or from January to May. And I just remember on a number of occasions, I will admit, I remember, working with a couple of groups and I'm like, they're just not going to make it. This is going nowhere. And what can I do? How can I help? But I can't do it for them. And you just kind of stick with it, and you heard it before, meet them where they're at, and you roll with the punches, and you pick your battles, and you find the right time to try and move them along. And the teacher is there more often than we are, so obviously they play a very central role in this. But to see where they end up is amazing. And some of the ones that I didn't think were going to even make it end up in the finals. And it's just, it's really, probably the most satisfying is when you coach, obviously, a group, and they, one of the teams that I coached, sort of won the prize and won some money and got some seed money, and that's great and everything, but that's not, the only definition of success. Success for me is when I walk in the next year to coach the freshmen, and some of these kids who, I don't remember their names, I don't see them all that time, and I see them in the hallway, and they call out my name like I'm their best friend, and it's just kind of nice that you made some kind of impression on them and had some kind of influence. I don't know how positive or impactful it was, but just the fact that it happened is a very, very fulfilling experience.
Can I add something? Michael, this is really nice because when I go to the coach session, sometimes I'm not thinking deeply about the session, but I have no expectations like something amazing is going to happen. A lot of times when I come back to my job, I'm amazed because I see, oh, they can do this. They really can do this. When I was 15, I didn't know nothing about public speaking. I was not thinking about this. And those students, they have these sessions to how to speak to an audience, and they will struggle with this. This is not easy for us, adults, like professionals, and they can make it. Like, this is not perfect. This is not amazing. It don't have to be, but they do this. They go there and they speak to the public, and I think this is amazing. When I come back to my home or my job, I think, oh my God, they can do this, and this is the thing. They can do this with when they are 15. I can imagine when they are like 25,
I think, yeah, it's truly amazing. Like Carlos said, what if a student that 14, 15 years old can speak this confidently. I mean, yeah, the sky is the limit, right? And I'm truly, I agree completely. And I think what Carlos and Michael also just kind of said was there was a lot of variety in the day to day of a coach, of a business team coach for Build, but also there's so many different ways to volunteer. So the business team coach is one thing where you're really working with the students with a certain team, kind of seeing them, like Carlos and Michael said, from the beginning to the end of those pitch fests, either Build Fest or some of those other personal pitches. But there's other ways to volunteer too at Build, and just kind of going through that. We talked about the personal pitch. So you can also be, Michael mentioned he was a panelist. That's how he actually got into it and then became a coach. So you can be a panelist, kind of a judge. Again, think Shark Tank. So you are kind of giving feedback from a panelist position. Also, there's also secret shoppers. So in those, Carlos mentioned that there's prototyping phase. That was one of Carlos's favorite kind of lessons. And these businesses, they create prototypes and they sell them. And so you can then come in and be a secret shopper for those businesses and actually buy their products. Additionally, you can be a guest speaker. We also have like job shadow hosts or even group volunteering with corporations. You can host field trips for the students so they can see what it's like to be, a part of your company or, a friend's company. So really so many different ways to volunteer. And also, even though I do want to say that Carlos and Michael were both in startups, you don't have to have been in a startup. We want, volunteers from all different types of the professional world. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, but yeah, we would love for you to get involved. And at build.org/volunteer, you can check it out. And definitely put in your name on our form or your application for your business team coach. So back to Carlos and Michael. Yeah, I would just say kind of on that, why would you kind of recommend to a friend to be a mentor? You talked about kind of that social aspect. You also talked, I think Michael said, it's a two-way street. You always feel like you're getting something as well, even as you give. So yeah, if you were just speaking to a friend and saying, why do you keep coming back, Carlos, for 6 years? What is that thing, that tick that keeps you wanting more for mentoring?
Yeah, I have a lot of reasons to keep going to the schools and like staying with the kids, the students. One thing particularly I'd say is I think the students, they need representativeness. I'm an immigrant. I'm a Latino. I really go there to say to the students, "Oh, I know your mom, your dad, they are immigrants. They are struggling like to go to work every day. I'm not saying this in words, but in attitude. Like, oh, you can do this. Believe me, you can do this. And I think this is really important to give this idea for students, especially at this moment. They are 15, 14 years old, and they're thinking about their future. And I think when they see like a Latino immigrant like me, they can get this more real. Oh, I can be a professional like this guy. And this is a big part of my motivation. Most of my friends, they are Latinos too. And I say to them, oh, this is really important for this society.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think, a lot of our students are from under-resourced communities. So, seeing someone like you, Carlos, who made it and is just showcasing this amazing journey is just so important, and letting the students see that anything is possible. So I really love that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had some really wonderful experiences in the classroom, usually around the personal pitch experience, and to see these, first year high school students get up there and talk about themselves. As the teacher says, oftentimes this is the first time they've ever gotten in front of a group and spoken for 2 minutes about anything. And now they're speaking about themselves. And it's really incredible and empowering to see these kids up there. Identity matters. I mean, Carlos touched on it, and I can easily be classified as a sort of middle-class, suburban, privileged white kid that, just sort of was very mainstream. And in some respects, that's true. And also, through the course of discussions and working with these kids, they find out that that I'm a gay man, that I'm married, that I have 2 kids, that I'm first generation American. My parents were both immigrants, and I think just that learning experience for them, and kind of the pride of talking about it for myself, is sort of that give and take. Probably one of the most meaningful experiences I had was the freshmen were pitching. This is over in Oakland. I think this was last year. And there was this, young, scrawny, 14-year-old freshman. And he got up there and he pitched, and he talked about how hard it was for him as a small kid, as a young kid, and whatever. And I listened to him, and I was just able to talk to him afterwards and tell him, dude, I was you. I was 14 when I was a freshman in high school. I graduated high school in 17. I went to college when I was 17 years old. I weighed less than you did at freshman year. And, things happen, things change. You got to make them happen. And just to have that connection with this kid, and I was moved, and I felt like he was moved. And it's a really special day when things like that happen. Also, I mean, I want to point out that there are some tough days too. Tough days being frustrating. And I think that's the, I go into these high schools, and the schools that we work in, attendance is often a real challenge in these classrooms that we're working at. And, I look at it, sort of saying, well, I wish these kids would show up every day, and, so I could help them more and work with them, and we'd be more productive and all that stuff. And then you kind of realize that, first of all, it's not about you, and it's about them. And there are challenges that are keeping these kids from coming to school 5 days a week, whatever they are. And so you get a better understanding of the situation that they're in. You get a better understanding of the expectations that you should set for others, and you get more realistic goals. And with that, I think you have a sense of success for both yourself and for the students that you're working with.
Yeah, I totally agree, Michael. And Julie, you said there's many ways to volunteer. And I would to say you don't have to invest like a big amount of time. You can just spend a little part of your week like volunteering, and you're gonna have a lot of fun. Believe me. This year, my first coach session, I went to the class and the teacher was introducing the coaches, and I was very excited to respond the questions from students. And my first question they asked me was, "What's your favorite soccer team?" And I was like, "What?" And I said, "Barcelona." And like everybody was screaming because they love Madrid, and they were like very excited about this. Like this is simple, but it's worth it. This is very fun, I think.
Yeah, I think we talk, I mean, I love this conversation because we're talking about, the amazing moments, the hard moments, and kind of those simple joys too, right? Of being a part of this program, this mentorship, this business team coach program. And also what Carlos said is, there's so many different ways to volunteer. I think that, it doesn't have to be weekly. Michael mentioned like just coming in, trying it as like a secret shopper, talking to the students and asking them about their business, or coming in, trying it as a panelist. And then who knows, you might want to kind of be this more committed business team coach where you're coming in weekly to really support, one team in all their journey and feedback for their business. And that was my next question, any advice or just thoughts on maybe how your perspective has changed from beginning to now on how has it been giving feedback to students? How do you, what's kind of some stories around it? Like, what's been maybe like a funny time where you gave feedback, or was it maybe a time that you thought it would be good feedback and it wasn't, or just, anything, or maybe something where you saw it really changed the way that the business and the team collaborated. But just thoughts on how to give feedback, especially with this unique mentorship opportunity where you are really helping them form their business. So,
one of the activities that I don't think you mentioned, but was probably I felt the most productive for me this year out in Oakland, is participating in the mock interview activity. So I worked in finance and HR for a number of years. So I've conducted a lot of interviews. I've screened a lot of candidates. I've looked at a lot of resumes, and it was really gratifying to be able to give some level of direct advice to these students as they were ready to start to interview, whether it be it for college admission, whether it be for a summer job, whether it be for a volunteer opportunity, because there are certain things that you want to put out there when you're volunteering, and there's certain things you don't necessarily have to put out there. Like somebody once said to me, as a good Catholic, they said, it's not the confessional you're going into a job interview. So you don't have to tell about everything about yourself. So it's very satisfying to be able to take that little bit of knowledge and share that with a 15 or 16 or a 17-year-old, because it can be tremendously valuable in not necessarily getting them to open to a door, but to help them avoid getting the door shut on them, because the world does that a lot. And so that can be really satisfying when I think just you walk into the classroom and you get assigned to a different group maybe on different days, and when a team asks for you, that's very gratifying. That makes you feel good, and it's a sign of a connection and on some level, because I'm kind of a tough judge, and so I really understand. I take that as a compliment, not necessarily just as a social compliment. So that's very, very gratifying. And the other amazing moments are just some of the conversations that we've had, not necessarily directly related to entrepreneurship and coaching, and just social conversations are just it's mind-boggling when I hear what these I say kids, but what these kids have to say, and it's inspiring.
And I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, sorry, Carlos. I would say I love bringing in the mock interview, because I think that is, there's so many moments where maybe the students are heads down trying to work on their business, and with the mock interview, mentors or role models are able to really talk about, okay, this is, let's go to the next step. And in our program, that's why we really have, it's in our 3-year main program, we have kind of build your business, all the way, build your voice, build your future. So in the 3rd year, they're really working on more resume building, mock interviews, looking at different college applications, even doing, more of those field trips. So that's where students are often doing those amazing experiences with their role models in some of their later years. But thank you for bringing that up, Michael. And Carlos, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, and I think when they are 3rd year, they had a lot of experience, like receiving feedback, and they're gonna have this experience for the whole life. Like giving feedback, receiving feedback. This is something every professional will deal with, and I think this is really important because the classroom is a safe environment to give feedback and receive feedback. And we have the opportunity to not just give feedback for the students, but actually help them to solve the problem based on the feedback. I had experience. A group of students was thinking about to build like a mug with Wi-Fi and a charger for a cell phone, and you have this pocket aside, and you put your phone, like a super complicated thing. And I was, oh my God, I have to help them to refine this idea. And I gave the feedback. And this is normal. When you have when you think you have an amazing idea, you're gonna have like a resistance, like, oh, my idea is so nice. So why you are like saying it this is not a good idea? And I was trying to structure my feedback and saying to them, oh, let's refine this product. Let's think realistically, but let's do this together. And this is the safe environment we build with them. And I think this is preparing them to deal with real feedback in the real world. So if they learn how to listen and how to work based on this feedback, they're gonna solve like 50% of their problems in future. So I think the thing here, the thing in the classroom for like during the program is to helping them to understand the problem and helping them to solve the problem. And we create this collaboration safe environment, preparing them to go outside to the real life and deal with the real problems, the real life, and I think this is very special.
And I agree with you, Carlos, on, I mean, giving and taking feedback in the professional world is an art. I mean, there's so many adults that are still working on that. And so being able to start from such a young age on something that, they have really thought long and hard on, that gadget, not only, that has Wi-Fi and a cup, those are things that it's their baby. But on the other hand, being able to, kill your baby is a little bit, right? In the entrepreneur world, we say. But I love that. Just bringing the real life into the classroom is what I feel like our volunteers are doing, Michael and Carlos. So again, this is an amazing conversation. I do want to say, these are two of our volunteers. We have thousands of volunteers across the country. And again, your support, donations to build.org is what helps this program work, and what makes these amazing relationships and these social capital happen for our students. So please use the QR code today if you're watching as well to power mentorship and continue this going. And I wanted to bring in also conversations of, we've talked a lot about this journey of the students and the mentors, but from, staying in the classroom to finally those kind of final pitches, whether it's Build Fest or a final regional pitch. What has been some of your your favorite moments when you have seen the students actually go from, that beginning classroom meeting to on stage, whether they're getting that big check or, they're getting second place, whatever it is, any amazing moments of seeing the confidence of your students at those final pitches?
Yeah, I had a great experience. I think it was last year, where the team that I coached regionally won the grand prize and the big prize, and I was there for the more local one, but then they even went to a broader regional area, and I was not there, but saw them get the big check, and it is wonderful to see them grow. It's so notable, and at the same time, I have to say that everybody grew. I mean, all of the teams grew. They all stepped up, and I know that sounds sort of a little almost naive, but this is what happens. The environment there and sort of the curriculum is, I think Carlos uses the word collaboration. They work in teams, and most of their other classes, they're individual students. And so here, and they don't get to pick their teams necessarily. At least the teachers I've worked with, they mix them up. And so they're working with people who aren't necessarily their best friends that they butt around with. So they're sort of forced into a little bit of uncomfortableness and forced into a new environment. And they start to understand eventually that sense of shared responsibility. Do they always get it 100%? No. Do adults always get it 100%? No. But you see them mature in this type of working environment, that that if they just flake out and goof off or disengage, that's going to have an impact on the group, and that is going to make them feel uncomfortable. So to see them all come together and step up, the pitch that I saw, where my team won the prize, like every one of those groups, the level of improvement was way beyond my expectations.
Oh yeah. Last year we had the the big event at the Red Sox Stadium. It was there. It was really, really nice. And it's amazing to see the students like they are really stressed, you know, but they want to make sure everything is okay, everything is fine, and so they work hard to communicate like clearly, to dress up very nice, you know, to have good slides, to know the numbers, like all the things. And I think this is victory. Everybody wants the big prize, you know, but I'm trying to say to them, oh, this is victory. You are here on the stage. You are talking to people. You are talking to like um, rich guys, like investors, you know, and celebrities, and all those people here. So this is victory. Everybody is want to hear what you have to say, and this is victory. So I think a lot of emotions in this moment, but I think the big thing here is when they understand, oh, I'm doing a really nice thing. You know, I have this mic, I have my voice, I have my ideas, so I'm gonna tell him, I'm gonna tell them my thoughts. You know, and when they understand this is victory, this is really nice because I think this experience, not in the like the big prize of the year, but like pitching their products like in the classroom. They, I think this is hard to flip that thoughts like this is special, this is unique. You're gonna have this skill. You're gonna have to learn this skill for your entire life. So relax. This is hard to flip this thought, but when they understand this, is really cool to see.
Yeah, Carlos, I agree. And I think, you know, at these, we have many different pitches kind of near the end of the year, but the biggest one, what Carlos is talking about, is the Build Fest. And so that's where, you know, we invite a lot of different other adults, teachers, sometimes their parents. And it's really amazing to just kind of see them competing. Usually a couple teams compete on stage. And then also we have students also selling their products often in kind of a student marketplace. So it's very high energy, a great way to end the year, and a great way for anyone that wants to experience Build to kind of come along to one of those last events in your areas. We have them in all of our large cities. So they should be happening around May and June this year. So definitely keep an eye out for that to join us and see some of those pitches. And I know that the teachers and the mentors that are there are just always beaming with energy, watching their students, just knowing, as Michael and Carlos has said, where they've come from in their journey. So it's really amazing. I know we only have about 10 minutes, but I did want to ask Carlos and Michael, you know, if someone was to come and say, you know, I might be interested in this, being a coach, oh, maybe I'm not qualified, or, you know, just what would you tell them? Why would you say to, you know, try this out? And additionally, maybe I heard some of you, both of you say maybe that you have gotten something out of it, you know, as a professional or just as an adult in this social society. So maybe what's something that you feel that you've gained? Because I always say that, you know, Build mentoring is definitely a two-way street. It's not just what these caring adults are giving to the students, but also some of the lessons that the adults are experiencing and taking back into their lives. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like volunteer, to be a volunteer is a very special work because first you just you give something, you give your time, you give your attention, and I think this is gold at this time. Like attention, time, this is gold. you don't have to give a big amount of time, as I said, but you give what you have, like 1 hour a week, or I don't know, your presence in the event. I would say you don't have to be qualified, like as Julie said. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be like a big professional or something like this. You just have to give your time and your attention, and you're gonna receive a very special moment. Sometimes it's frustrating because human relations, like you want to see the students like progressing, and sometimes the life is not this way, but you're gonna have a lot of fun. You're gonna have special moments. You're gonna be surprised by the life, by the students, and I think this is really rewarding for me.
Yeah, I think the qualifications for being a volunteer, a good volunteer, actually, for Build, and I think this applies to a lot of other places as well, but certainly for this opportunity, is that you know you, you have life experiences. It's not about being an entrepreneur. Yes, I ran my family's business, and yes, I was in a startup, and yes, I worked for a big corporation, and those are just environments that I worked in, and I have takeaways from those environments. I come from a small town, but I've lived in a big city all my life, and those are the experiences, the bridges that you build with these students. And the one thing is you do have to want to be there. Like it has to be a good fit on that level. That's the only qualification, I think, is that you're willing to give yourself and some time to this opportunity, because you want to show up for them. That's what you're there for. I'm not there for my bachelor's degree, what I learned, or anything like that. I'm there to be able to relate to that 14-year-old scrawny kid who's 6 months younger than everybody else in his classroom. And and there will be really gratifying experiences and frustrations, and that should not be a surprise to anybody. And I think that illustrates just how important it is that we volunteer, and that we recruit, and that we attract more volunteers. And I'm going to put in a big pitch for retirees, because we have time and we have flexibility. And with that, there's a lot more opportunity to participate.
Well, you guys said it better than anyone. So we are definitely looking for more volunteers. Again, there's so many ways to participate, whether it's being a panelist, a mock interview, or actually going the distance as a business team coach like Michael and Carlos here, and really supporting a team in their entrepreneurial venture. So I'm going to end us off with Carlos and Michael saying a little bit of maybe what's one piece of advice that you are commonly giving to students, or just kind of speaking to students out there as Build students, or in general, something that you're usually saying to your student teams that you might want to share with our viewers.
I think they ask that when you're a panelist and ready to give advice and listen to the pitches, they ask the judges, what's your one bit of advice that you have? And I think it's the same bit of advice I would give to potential volunteers. And I say this in various different ways, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is you got to be present. Like, you got to want to be there. Quite frankly, if you don't like high school kids, then you shouldn't be working with high school kids. If you want to work with kindergartners, go work with kindergartners. But just be present when you're there, because things, not only will you do things, but things will happen to you that will open up possibilities for you to help and share with others. So just be present and want to be there.
I think Michael, that's good advice for not just the volunteers and the students, but just to everyone in the world in this time of society. So thank you.
Yeah, I would say a very similar thing. My piece of advice for students is keep going, keep going. You don't have to make a lot of plans. So just believe in yourself and believe you can do this. And the same for volunteers. Just keep going. If you are a coach, a business coach, keep going every week. You don't have to think a lot about this. Just keep going. And I think this can be a very good advice for just the both sides.
I love it, Carlos. Keep going. We all need to just keep swimming. Just keep doing it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Carlos and Michael. It was such an amazing way to celebrate National Mentor Month with both of you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful, and we will be back again in 2 weeks. We are super excited to have a new Adobe partnership. We will be focusing on launching a new product for our digital product FanBiz CEO simulation. It is called the expansion pack of FanBiz, and it's the basics of branding with Adobe. So we'll be talking in 2 weeks with that launch with some of our staff members and some of the Adobe team. So hopefully see you back in 2 weeks. Thank you again so much for joining us today, and we will see you then.
Mentorship is important, and it's truly really, really important here in the District of Columbia. When I was living in Chicago, I realized that there were a lot of Black folk who never made it to like downtown Chicago or the office buildings in Chicago, right? So they never had that experience, right? Some of that is similar here in DC, in that some of our students in Ward 7 and 8 don't cross over into Northwest DC. So the mentorship is truly, truly important because, as a student here, you're not building that social capital. And now at age 18, 19, 20, 21, we expect you to cross over this bridge and then interview with folks that you might never had the experience with, right? And so what a mentor allows our students to do is to learn to present themselves, also grow their own familiarity with talking to someone who might and more than likely look much different from them when they're being interviewed. And so that piece is key here.
The mentors and the workshop leaders, people who participated in our roundtables this summer, they were not shy about sharing their own personal testimonies and their stories and their challenges and their adversities and their hardships and what they had to push through in order to become successful. So then what? Those entrepreneurs, those successful businessmen and women are speaking the same language as our students. So now our students are saying, wow, this is somebody who is successful in spite of. This is somebody who persevered and pressed through in spite of. So now I no longer have any room for excuses. I have no room to hesitate or to be unsure or lacking in confidence about my skills and talents and abilities, or think that somehow I won't make it because of external circumstances that are beyond my control. Because these people made it through, I made it through, and I had a tough life growing up.
I could tell you the stats. I could tell you the numerous studies that show that if you are quote unquote low income, that without the support of an adult mentor, it doesn't matter how great the education is, you're probably not going to get ahead. I can do all that. But I think it's life experience, and anybody watching this, I think you know that it's the relationships you have that drive you forward in life. And when you have an adult that cares about you, that is willing to listen to you and allow you to make mistakes and even encourage it, that is liberating and that is life-changing. So I think mentors are a powerful asset to build, and in many ways, if they were a two-sided coin, I would say they'd be one side of that coin.
Mentoring at Build is an incredibly rewarding experience. Our mentors come from a variety of backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, aspirations, all in an effort to give our students that network of support system. Whether that's with their pitch competitions, getting their business ideas, they give them, professional advice, but also sometimes students just need support outside of the classroom, someone to talk to vent to. That's what our mentors provide, is genuine connection. And that's actually what the heart of our